Now, in regards to 98.7, it's been said that 98.7 is a buzz station, and that
Who
it'll.
said that?
Just what I've heard. Just what I've heard, and that it'll change its format anytime the ratings go down. Now, first off, what's the truth to that, and also, how does 98.7 compete with like one of the top stations in LA, K-Rock?
Another loaded question. Well, let's start from the beginning. Buzz station. I think that probably came from the fact that the frequency, KYSR 98.7, has been, over the last 4 years, several different things. It's had different logos, different names, different imaging, different formats, playlists. When 98.7 switched to what we know now as 98.7 with the logo, with just our new imaging, our new format, we've been on the rise ever since. Generally, it takes a station anywhere from 2 to 3 years to kind of establish itself in the market. And, without getting into a bunch of numbers and statistics, we've grown by leaps and bounds in the last year. In fact, Clear Channel nationwide, our station 98.7 KYSR has had the most growth for average listening from October to March than any other station in the country. So we've, we continue to kind of just build this momentum of what we got going, and our ratings continue to increase. We also have a great team, great support, and I think that's huge in any business, is having that corporate support. So in that, I mean, I don't think there's a rumor or a buzz that we would switch formats. I mean, I think with anything, once your revenue or your ratings go down, there's the fear that something could happen. But, we don't really look at it like that. We don't really have that thought in the back of our head, just because we do have such good momentum.
Okay.
And you had mentioned about, what was the K-Rock?
Oh, just how does 98.7, since it is newly an alternative rock station, how does it compete with K-Rock, which has essentially established itself as a leader?
Yeah, K-Rock's what we would describe as a heritage radio station. It has 30 years presence in the market. They've broke a ton of bands. They really have a foothold here. We're not really trying to compete. I mean, essentially, we're competing with CDs and iPods and every other distraction that a listener has right now with the media, right now in our time. But we don't really consider ourselves competing. I mean, we're more of an offensive than a defensive station, which is to say we're not gonna respond or react to something that they do, because we have our own agenda. We have our own goals. We're not trying to be K-Rock 2. We're trying to be, the best station that we are, with our own goals and our own, vision of rock in LA. And they were huge in the 90s, and music's changed, and the media's changed, and the format and industry's changed a lot. And 98.7's on just the cusp of huge things as far as multimedia goes, and incorporating social networks and online and texting, and there's just so many different platforms we're embracing right now that kind of keep us right in the front.
Okay, now going back to the format switch, 98.7, which used to be Star 98.7, was a successful adult contemporary station. Now, what was the reasoning for the format switch?
Well, I don't know that I would say, I mean, success is all relative, as far as it had some other, its numbers weren't through the roof, let's just say that. And like you said, with the buzz around 98.7, if our numbers drop, would we switch formats? Well, that was kind of the whole reasoning behind the original switch from Star 98.7 to what we are now as 98.7. So that's what spurred on that whole switch, was the fact that Star's numbers weren't where they should be. And to be honest, there's only one rock station in LA. It's a 1,500 million people in earshot, and there's a lot of room there to have another alternative station.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of what the corporate thinking was behind it before it went down.
Okay.
And I think there are a lot of considerations that go into when you decide to make a format switch. The first one is that you're going to lose listenership.
Yeah.
That the first thing that you have to realize is that even if your numbers are going to go down, if you switch formats, you're going to lose the listeners that you had, and then you have to build. And so you've got to find, is there that potential when you decide to make the format switch? As you said, you have 150 million listeners. Can we grab enough of those to take us above where we were with the older format. And that's a big decision to make, whether you're in public radio or in commercial radio. As soon as you switch formats, you're going to lose listeners, and then you're going to have to rebuild.
And that's a good point. There's technically two ways to do it. There's the Band-Aid method where, you know, overnight or at 6 a.m., bam, you're a new station. And everybody's fired and everybody's gone, and all of a sudden you have this new product. The other way is how we did it was, you know, over a course of 3 or 4 months. You know, you start weeding out some artists that were part of your old look, bringing in some new ones that are part of your old look to your new look, and you know, you don't want to shock the viewer, so they don't run for the hills. And that's what I think we did a good job of. Is right now our demographic is pretty much 50-50 men, women, and that's where we want to be. It was about 60-40 with Star, so we like keeping that 50-50 balance. And you know, it is a balance of, you know, what you're playing and what your imaging is, what you're presenting to your audience, so that you don't lose all those your whole audience at one time.
Okay. Now, since both of you are on-air personalities for your respective stations, I'd like to start with you, Professor. Like, what kind of responsibilities do you have at a public radio station?
Well, as an on-air personality, of course, keep it clean. But other than that, I mean, I program my own show. I decide what operas to present and when. I write all of my own scripts. I usually go after my own underwriting. It's basically, I'm a volunteer, I'm not paid. So I do it simply because I love it, and I've been doing it for 14 years. But still, I have the responsibility to create the right mix of operas. For example, I can't broadcast, I don't want to broadcast Tosca and Traviata and Madame Butterfly every week. I want to throw in the occasional L'Étoile, which no one ever does except me, so that I'm broadening the audience's approach to opera. But I also have to present enough that's familiar, so that they're not going to say, oh, he's off the deep end and he broadcasts stuff that no one ever listens to and no one ever produces. So I've got to try to find that balance. But what I love about the show is that other than my trying to find that balance, everything is on my shoulders.
Okay. So how does that differ from what you do?
You know, I think that in a commercial format, you know, the responsibility is to keep your job, and the best way to keep your job is to not let people, you know, our job as a DJ is to prevent, the music is God. Music is, when it comes to a radio station like ours, which is music intensive, the focus is the music. So the job with everything is to prevent people from switching the channel. So when the song ends and the jock like myself comes on, and we have anywhere from, you know, it might be a 5-second break or it might be a minute break, is to provide entertaining content, and that's my responsibility. So whether it's and it should have a benefit to the listener. So, you know, before I open the mic, I want to ask myself, well, you know, how does this apply to you listening? How is this going to entertain you? How is this not going to make you change the channel? So you just run it through that filter. You know, we're also, you know, a very locally focused show. You know, we like to be about LA, Orange County. You know, we like to be about who we are here. So those are things through. I mean, and again, as far as the responsibility goes, it's just to project the image of the station. You know, just to say we are about music. We are about LA. We're here to be entertaining, and you know, hopefully you'll enjoy that and not change the channel, so we can keep our jobs.
And I think this is really a parallel. It's just that,
absolutely.
It's just that it's a different type of music that you're presenting, because my breaks are longer
Yeah.
than a minute, because I have to describe the plot of an opera, which it's hard to do in a minute, and I play musical examples. But I still need to do it in a way that's entertaining and in a way that'll make the listener want to listen to what's coming up in the opera. So it's because if during pledge drives no one called and pledged their support, even though I'm free, I'd probably lose my job.
Well, exactly, and it's almost like a one-man business that you run. You say you get your own underwriting, you do all these other elements that, you know, in a commercial station, everybody has their own segmented responsibilities.